Hello everyone, it's great to see you. And today I'd like to talk about Amnesia, the Bunker. This is a digital-only game, I believe, developed by Frictional Games, and it's been on a pretty great number of sales recently. I think I picked it up for like $12 or something like that near Black Friday 2023, and I thought that was a pretty good price. I was really intrigued with the premise of the game, and so it was on my radar. Frictional Games is well known for an old series called Penumbra, in which they began to develop this sort of no weapons, no abilities to fight back encounter style of survival horror game, which primarily focuses on exploring your environment and using clues and gathering evidence to solve, puzzles and whatnot to allow you to proceed further or make it through sections where enemies stalk around and things like that. And also the Amnesia series, of course, Amnesia Dark Descent, Rebirth, and there's a couple other small Amnesia titles in there as well. And a fantastic game that I think kind of goes under the radar that might be one of the best, in my opinion, of Frictional Games' games in total, which is Soma, which is a fantastic game, and I won't dive into the details in this video necessarily on Soma, but I recommend you check that game out as well. What I did want to talk about is Amnesia the Bunker. So this game came out pretty recently. I think it came out in 2023, and it was, of course, developed by Frictional Games, and Frictional had this position of this was going to be kind of a pivotal moment in terms of game development and the style of games they're making, because unlike the old Amnesia games, this one really focused on kind of a semi-open world, procedurally generated items, layout, environment, with no sanity meter, some combat abilities, and some changes in which the enemy AI kind of interacts with the player as well. So in this game you play as a guy, Henry, and during a battle during World War I, Henry gets hit by an artillery shell, or an artillery shell hits near him and knocks him unconscious, and he wakes up in a trench and walking into a bunker finds there's no way out, except there's a soldier down there who tells him, hey, we've blocked the ways out, there's something down in here, and you need to find the detonator handle, the dynamite, you need to get out of here, you need to blow up in a hole and escape. And at that point you're kind of left to your devices to figure out and navigate through this dimly lit dark bunker, while there's a beast kind of stalking around the environment and creating problems for you along the way, so to speak. The story here is told through a series of notes and journals, and for me personally, usually when this is a feature of a game, I'm not super thrilled with it, because I'd rather there be some narrative presence in terms of, players shouldn't have to be making so much effort to really enjoy the story. But it's fitting in this. I think I preferred reading the notes as opposed to something like picking up audio logs, because it doesn't tarnish the dark, quiet, and kind of tense atmosphere that Amnesia the Bunker really relies on in order to pitch its environment to you and really make you feel immersed. So I actually ended up really enjoying the delivery of the story, and the story is really intriguing because there's, of course, this monster stalking around, and I think for me at least there was a development over time when I was reading the notes and learning about all the different people down here and the events before, kind of what was happening down in this bunker, and why it was happening, and so yeah, I developed a couple theories along the way, and there were a few surprises when I began to kind of get toward the close of the story, and it took a little while for me to pick that up. I think you get through the first couple areas or whatever, and you're not going to know a whole lot going on, and you're going to be most focused on learning the environment, learning how to survive. But when the story itself began to really grip me, I got really excited to learn more and learn the developments in that story itself. And so I had a lot of fun with the story aspect of this game, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And it's because I've played Soma, which had fantastic writing, but I played some of the prior Amnesia games, and I never actually finished those titles. And a big part of it was because the narrative of those games I just didn't find nearly as interesting. And so I was really happy to say that that was the case for this game. Now, navigation and the world design is really big, and mileage may vary because depending on the difficult you're playing on will depend upon how easy it is to get around and navigate the bunker. The layout's all the same, but items change in a procedurally generated fashion, playthrough to playthrough. So where you might have found a shotgun one time, it's not necessarily where you're going to find it the next. And a lot of picking up these items relies on finding these locker codes that various soldiers who died throughout the bunker had on them. And so those locker codes vary. And so depending on where you're exploring and how you are getting through each area will depend upon how difficult areas can be necessarily. And when you're in the bunker, you really just have a flashlight, and you're going to find various equipment and items around to craft items and get through, such as, you'll find an empty bottle, you'll find fuel, you'll find cloth, and you can put those things together and you can make a Molotov cocktail. But you also need a lighter. You need to be able to light it to throw it. Or you may find a stick and you have the cloth. Okay, you can put those together and make a torch. And fire and light is super important in this game because the two main enemies, which are this giant lurking beast and then these like mutilated rats, they are sensitive to both of those things, and so kind of having those in leverage is really important for you. Henry kind of moves slow and clunky, and I really like that about this experience because it delivers a sense of realism and makes the game more tense, just through the use of animations and the character weight and feeling, and I thought that was really great as well. And I did really enjoy navigating because the core safe room, where you have essentially one save point, has a big map that as you find areas in the bunker, you'll be able to fill in with more details for the different environments and kind of the layout of the rooms, etc. And I really found it fun to save my game and start a run, look at the map, and say, okay, so the next thing I need to do is go to this place, and okay, I have to take 2 lefts and then go to a right, and I've already explored all these rooms, and kind of piecing that together mentally, seeing it on a map and seeing it in person, but not being able to immediately reconcile the two through the gameplay environment, I really enjoyed, because again, it creates this environment where you can get lost, you can run away from the monster, not exactly know where you are, or be trapped in the dark because you weren't keeping your flashlight lit. And those things are really exciting, from the lens of just, again, increasing the tense atmosphere of the game. And I thought they did a great job with that through the world design, through the navigation. And I only played through this once, so I don't know how lucky I was necessarily on getting items, or finding the right locker codes in order to unlock lockers. But that was definitely my experience. So I give that a +1 again on this game. Now, in a gameplay sense, again, I kind of described it a little bit. You're going through the bunker. You have 2 main objectives, which are finding the dynamite and finding the detonator handle. And of course, it's not going to be that easy. There's an emergency lockdown in place. You're going to need some additional items along the way. You're going to need to learn you're going to need to find bolt cutters, or you're going to need to find a wrench to open up vents and things like that. And so you will spend a lot of time exploring the environment and learning the environment, and through that, how to get around quicker and interact with the beast in this game. So I really enjoyed the interplay with the monster here. It's very photosensitive, so you can shine a light at it, or you can pour fuel on the ground, for instance, and you can light that up on fire, and so it creates light and the monster gets scared, or you can shoot at the monster to make him run away temporarily. And the monster is very attracted to sound, so you're going to want to be really quiet when you're in these environments. But the only true light source that's regenerative that you have is this little flashlight, and the flashlight makes a ton of noise to light up. And so you kind of get in this pick and choose battle of managing not only your resources in the terms of, okay, do I have cloth? Do I have this bottle? Can I create a Molotov when I need it? so on and so forth, to burn a body and scatter rats, but also even real-time resources. Okay, how much light do I need, or am I far enough away from a spawning hole that the beast comes through in order to pull my light without attracting him? And so I really enjoyed that real-time strategy sense of trying to figure out when it was safe, when it was not, to react to the environment and what was happening. And I thought that was truly an exciting thing. So you really begin to learn a lot about this game through trial and error, and you'll get a couple of resources along the way, such as notes or pictures, which will kind of guide you and teach you a little bit about the environment. I said burning bodies earlier. These rats, they're very aggressive and they'll attack you, and when you get hurt, you bleed, you slow down, the blood attracts the monster and things like that. And so that's really something you want to avoid, right? And so you can burn the bodies. But that's something I learned through looking at a picture that I found in the environment, because I saw soldiers in this picture burning bodies to keep these rats away. And so I thought that was a really creative way in order to engage the player again in the environment and teach them a little bit about the bunker and the rules of the road, essentially, in playing Amnesia the Bunker. And so along the way, of course, you'll have to deal with this monster. Once you've learned a little bit about interacting with them, I did find the monster a bit easy to juke and outplay. And I did save scum a little bit throughout the process. What I would usually do is, if I had an objective, right, I had to blow open a door, and I knew, okay, I'm gonna have to blow this door open. I have a grenade, so I can use a grenade. So throw the grenade at the door, it explodes. Okay, well, upon impact, I'm sprinting as fast as I can to get back to the safe room. And I will return later once I know that the threat's been decreased, essentially, and kind of making my life a bit easier and less monster to deal with. And so you begin to learn these strategies of outplaying him. And also, one thing I found to be a little disappointing in the immersion of the gameplay environment was that when you move from area to area, which are pretty big, you kind of hit these old school like Half-Life loading screens where you walk through a long hallway and then it loads and then you keep walking and then now you're in the new environment. And these loading screens, they're not very long. They're a couple seconds, if that. But what I learned about them is that it re-triggers the monster, kind of like resets their positioning and things like that. So you can cheese the environment by walking back and forth through this hallway. The monster won't chase you through the hallway. There's no holes in this hallway. And these kind of connect each area. And so, because of that, I found that, okay, if I was in a particularly difficult section, the prison being one of them, then I can make use of this in my environment in order to, kind of quickly reset progress that the monster's making in exploring the environment, looking for me. And I know that one of the critiques would be, well, Forrest, you should just play it a little more legitimately then, if you want a more legitimate experience. But I really think that if they took a little time to, reconsider the environments and maybe try to get rid of these loading screens and kind of eliminate that reset on the monster, it creates this additional sense of urgency in the environment and creates less resources and options for gamers that are really thinking outside the box. And it's good if you think outside the box when you are playing a game and you're trying to complete it. And so, I don't fault that on me, but I would ask that the developers think like, okay, well, maybe someone's going to try and take advantage of this, and we need to cut those opportunities out for the gamers to create that challenging experience. And so to say, I say the monster was easy because I could juke and outplay it. But on the other end, it was difficult enough that I had to find, reasonable methods to get around the environment that included kind of cheesing the monster a bit. So yeah, there were a couple things that happened, like once my save game corrupted, which was really unfortunate and sucked because I had lost like maybe an hour or so of progress. And one thing I thought was really strange is, item resource in this game. So when you're managing resources in the game, you have a very limited on-hand inventory space. You can carry at the start like 6 items at max. And so you'll be utilizing the storage box in the save room, in order to store items. However, items don't despawn from the environment. So what I found myself often doing is making trips back and forth to the room and just dumping things in a pile somewhere so that I could later use them. And so I think that these two things don't go in tandem necessarily, because either create a storage box that's unlimited, because you know gamers are going to do that, or make it to where items that you pick up and then drop are eliminated from the environment. Because what that creates is a scenario where gamers are now thinking, okay, well, I need to remember, okay, if I want bottles, there's this huge wine cellar. I'll just leave bottles there, and I'll make a trip when necessary to go get those, and then maybe fill them up at the petrol station, so on and so forth. And again, creates additional tense situations, because now you're having to retread and retrack areas in the event that you're not effectively managing your resources across these environments. Another big thing I wanted to mention is that as you go through the bunker, you can pull levers which will turn on lights, but you also need fuel to fill up the generator to turn on the lights as well. This came down to the cheesing the monster thing too, because early on I used no fuel at all. I wandered around in the dark, being super quiet, and so I collected all these fuel cans. And so, about the halfway point, which was like 3 or 4 hours into the game, I had like 15 fuel cans just laying in the basement next to the generator. So from that point on, I essentially was able to play the game with the generator just fully cocked the whole time, ready to go. And so I think that overall, I played on the normal difficulty, but that there was an excess of resources, which really, again, decreased the tense atmosphere that I was hoping Amnesia the Bunker would create a little bit more of, though it created a significant amount already. But just something I wanted to add as well. Quickly moving on to sound. I really love the sound in this game. There's fantastic sound effects. When you hear the monster, you can feel them in the distance, and you can know where they are spatially in your environment, which was really effective. And I love the sound of firing the gun. It goes off, it's a loud bang, and Henry's has a little tinnitus ringing in his ears when it happens, because he's in this small bunker where there's a lot of loud noises are going to reverberate and things like that, and explosions going off, etc. And because you're playing the game so quietly, when these moments happened, I just thought that there was a lot of drama to it. It felt high stakes, and it really made the environment feel alive. I don't remember much music sticking out. I don't think there was really any music in this game. But I think that was really good, again, for the environment, and the fact that the sound effects were so effective in what they were doing really made it a lot of fun. Graphically, I think the game looks pretty good. It's dark, of course, so you can hide some of the lower res texture work, etc. Though there wasn't really a lot in this game to that effect. I think the lighting was handled well. The bunker, of course, all the assets have to be and can be pretty simple. You're in a World War I bunker. I mean, how much is there to do? But it was definitely enough for me to really enjoy and not really think too much on. I, again, love the lighting engine that they used. There were some strange water effects late in the game. There's this section where you go through a basement and it's flooded, and the water was transparent, and then it was opaque, and then objects were changing color in the water. So I don't exactly know what was happening there, but that is something that I caught onto as well. So lots of notes, lots of things that I thought about, a lot of feedback to give just overall on Amnesia the Bunker. But one thing I gotta say, I really liked the story. I thought it was gripping. The gameplay was really fun. The game was really tense. And towards the end, I did find and learned so many various ways to outsmart the monster and outsmart the game developers and use the environment to my leverage in order to get through it unscathed. And so that did kind of decrease the tense atmosphere. But learning those things along the way is, of course, part of the fun of playing a game like this. And so I really did enjoy the amount of experimentation that is allowed in Amnesia the Bunker to accomplish goals. And it's great that the developers allowed you to do that. And I really liked the vagueness of exploring the environments. The game sounded fantastic and very dramatic, and it looked pretty good overall. And so my overall conclusion is that the Amnesia the Bunker is definitely a game to go out, check out, and buy, especially at the great sale price that I got it at. I had a lot of fun with it, and I would imagine you would too, hopefully. And the game's pretty short. I think I completed it in maybe about a recorded 8 hours, plus kind of reloading and retrying sections. So maybe about 10 hours total it took me to get through the game. And it was 10 hours well spent. I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah. So that's really my big opinions on Amnesia the Bunker. If you haven't checked it out, I do recommend doing so. And if you have, I'd love to hear your feedback. Did you kind of find similar ways to deal with the monster, or did you find it difficult to get certain items because of the way it procedurally generated? I would be curious to know. And if you liked the video, please like the video, and would love for you to subscribe and stick around for more and chat games with me. Okay, well, until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the future.